Hey, seat neighbor, how are you? So you're here traveling for business or pleasure?
Well, it's so exciting. A little bit of both.
Oy, 4 more hours of this. Oy. You know, sometimes that iPod generation has gotten it right. Oh God, help me. I hope these headphones work.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the No Vacancy Podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. You know it, I'm excited, I'm delighted, I'm thrilled to have you here with me each and every week as we explore the incredible world of hospitality out there, giving you the insight and education that you need to be more successful. And if you're an incredible road warrior out there, you love getting this behind-the-scenes look at how our amazing, incredible business works. Be sure to check out novacancynews.com. Let me know what you think about that. We got great videos up there, lots of great information up there for you. Plus, it's the repository for all of the podcasts that we've been doing. So check out the incredible catalog of shows that we've put together over the last 2 years. Man, I can't believe we've been doing this for 2 years already. Woo, that's insane. All right, so the show is brought to you in part by Duetto, the revenue strategy technology platform thousands of hotels are using to make more money. Check them out right now on getrevenueresults.com. That's getrevenueresults.com, because they've got a great video for you all about how hotel management teams can collaborate to make more money. So it's a great video. It's kind of like a dramatic take on things. And if you heard me do this ad in other shows, I've done a kind of like a movie preview, because it's just like that. What the hell? I'll do it again. Drama, intrigue, passion. Follow an adventure of a committed team of hoteliers lost in a world of spreadsheets, disconnected strategies, poor communication from the lack of the right technology. But when they commit to a revenue optimization strategy, the world changes in ways they never imagined. All right, I think I'm quitting this show, and I'm just going to go do movie trailers for the rest of my life. All right, just check out getrevenueresults.com, and thanks to Red Roof for being an incredible sponsor of the show. Woo! This is exhausting. I got a guest hanging out in the background, waiting to be brought in, and that is none other than Mr. Adam Glickman, the principal with Parallax Hospitality. We've been talking a lot about wellness on the show, and he is an expert in this field. Adam, my man, how are you, sir?
Hey, Glenn, how are you today? I'm great.
I'm doing really great today because, you know, things are going well out here. I'm recording from the this studio in the, what is this, the Hausman Resort Pool Club and Smokehouse, so things are going pretty good. So it's exciting to have a nice, relaxing August afternoon to be recording with you.
That sounds great. You're at the Glen Spa in the I'm sure with beautiful greenery in the background and all relaxing things going on all around. So
yes,
that's
because
the start of wellness, right?
Right, because if everybody knows me, I'm very much into wellness. I just need to actually be into wellness for myself, then I'll be totally there. But, you know, Adam, what's really great is you've been an expert in this for a long time, and yes, you're principal of Parallax Hospitality. They're all about strategic advisors in hospitality branding, wellness, new hotel concepts, and industry partnerships. But you're relatively new to this, a couple of years into this part of your journey. But before that, you were actively involved in wellness with IHG, helping to create all the tenets of the Even brand, which I talk about all the time on this show. I'm curious as to a little bit about what you've been up to and what the status of wellness is in the hospitality industry.
Yeah, sure, Glenn. Well, first off, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to share with your followers and your listeners about where wellness is today, and I think where it's going as we think about hotels and hospitality. I've been up to doing a lot of work with developers that are looking to figure out how to incorporate unique aspects into their projects, with many cases wellness or well-being being one of those big aspects, and thinking about how do you address the needs of different travelers, whether that's for a destination resort, right, a retreat, or an everyday business hotel where people want to keep up with their routine and stay feeling well when they travel. And so what I do is I help developers think about where wellness fits in their project, a new project or existing projects that are there that maybe need small enhancements or improvements. Yeah, okay.
So are you allowed to talk about who some of your clients are? Because I know who they are, but I don't want to throw you under the bus by breaking any corporate secrets here.
No, sure. I'll kind of talk about a couple of them, but I'll kind of hit on some more of the kind of the the aspects of what I do with my clients as opposed to my specific clients.
Yeah.
And so one of my clients is actually developing a really cool destination retreat in Costa Rica, and they own several hundred acres of land, and they have a vision to really make it a community, a place that people will live, a beautiful resort at some point into the future, as well as an incredible luxury tenting camp. And I kind of think of it as a glamping camp. I'm sure a lot of your listeners, everybody here is all about glamping. Think about where it's the intersection of glamping and kind of finding yourself and kind of getting away for 5-7 days and truly being able to disconnect. And so this idea of kind of a destination retreat is something that more and more projects are thinking about if you're in a really far off remote location, like my client is in Costa Rica, or if you're in a much more easy to access location, like just right outside of New York or outside of LA. How do you help customers and guests kind of find their balance by getting away and being able to disconnect?
All right, so I guess the first thing I need to ask, and by the way, I'm not going to tell you guys who he's working for, but they are some big names in hospitality. So that's all. I'll leave it at that one, Adam. I don't want to break any of your secrets there, but I do want people to know that you're the real deal here, and you're an expert in your field and what you do. So I want to know what the questions are here, because we talked about it last month. I had on Jennifer Hawkins, who's a PR expert who works with a lot of folks on, a lot of hotels that have wellness aspects to it, and she's really bullish on this. We've talked to other folks on the show before about why this is so important, and I keep coming back to this topic over and over again because I truly believe it's a real future element to capture a large group of people in hospitality. And as the hospitality industry continues maturing, and as the hospitality industry continues to create niche products, and as the universe seems to be getting more towards better, healthy living and well-being emotionally and physically and through diet and all of these kinds of things, I really see a confluence of things occurring that are creating an amazing trend. I know you're going to agree with me, but why do you think this is happening?
Hey, Glenn, why I think this is happening is wellness is really evolving to not just be about actions that we're all taking as people,
right.
It's supporting our well-being in life. We all want to be happy. We all want to get to a place where we have fun in life. Mm-hmm. We want to get to a place where we feel good and we're not sick. And wellness, I think of it as just stepping stones towards getting to a place where we're actually living a well life. And you might also, might hear frequently, like, what's the difference between wellness or well-being? Those two words are actually used sometimes interchangeably, but they do have separate meanings. Wellness are the steps and the things that we're doing,
right,
kind of in the goal of helping us strive to getting to the point where well-being is where we are in our lives. And so as I think of hoteliers and kind of what I see happening in hospitality and why it's not just kind of a passing fad or a passing trend is, what are we as hoteliers? We're basically carers. We're caregivers. We're there to deliver experiences for customers and guests. And what's the single most important thing for our guests is that they feel great and they had a good experience. And how do you get there? You help them physically feel great. And that's where well-being comes in. So I don't see it as a passing trend or fad. I see lots of elements of it that are going to keep evolving. And there'll be more things, whether that's group classes or different fitness programming, or thinking about how fun is a major part of what well-being is. And how do you help guests have more fun in your hotels or resorts than maybe they have before? I'm expecting that we're going to see more and more of that in the industry.
So I'm kind of feeling like we haven't taken wellness seriously, although we may have convinced ourselves that we have. And I look at, the gyms that have been created. A lot of times it's people, I think older hotels in particular, they took one guest room, throw in a treadmill in there, they call it a day. They think they're being, focused on this. But that to me isn't really getting to the heart of what wellness is all about. It is creating more of that well-balanced lifestyle that takes into a lot of other elements than just providing a piece of equipment.
Yeah, totally. It's like, I think a lot of people say like, oh, wellness, it's like fitness. It's a good gym, right? You got to have a good gym and, I have some healthy food at the bar. And those are the very beginning basics, but it's so much more. And to me, it's as I think of the properties of the future, there's this fun word I love, which when I read and learned about it at first, it's like, that word is weird. It's called biophilia. And if you haven't heard that term, it's just kind of this idea of like, we as people are at our happiest state when we're connected to nature and we're in the outdoors. And that's a big aspect of wellness. How do hotels integrate in kind of lots of natural spaces and calming spaces for their guests? And that, frankly, is as important as having a good gym. Because as there's more and more choices out there for guests to go exercise out of the hotel,
right.
You could have the world's best gym, but if the rest of the vibe of the hotel sucks, or stinks, sorry, what is that experience going to be like for guests?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think you're right on in regards to that. So when you're talking about biophilic design, the whole idea, as Adam said, is about, keeping people engaged through bringing some of those natural elements into it. It's like daylight, outdoor views, natural ventilation that reduces eye strain, relieving mental fatigue, and that helps employees want to work better. The whole idea of bringing the outside inside. Now, listen to this little factoid that I have. And Adam, I happen to have this because I did a speech for the National Wall Coverings Association where I included biophilic design, right? So in the healthcare setting alone, hospital stays, when hospitals incorporate biophilic design, hospital stays 8.5% shorter, 22% fewer analgesic medications, 21% less in pain medication costs. That's so interesting, so different to me. And we're also seeing it costs, it saves employers in traditional businesses a whole lot of money as well, because people aren't as sick as often. They're less frustrated with work. They don't want to stay home. They want to come in and be part of the, this environment where they could hear better, breathe better, see better, feel better, and move around a little bit more.
Yeah, I think, you're hitting on kind of the feel for employees when they're in environments and where guests or patients are in hospitals. Think of the biophilic design not from just the customer perspective, but also from the employee perspective. One of the I think interesting trends that you're seeing more and more in the hotel space related to well-being is how do we care more for our associates and our team members? Hilton launched a partnership with Arianna Huffington and Thrive Global last year. And a big part of that is the well-being of their team members as part of the organization. And then how does that then play out to the spaces that are physically in hotels? Where are the natural plants? Where is the access to natural lighting to the outside? Because most of our team members are indoors most of the day. So there's, I think, a really great alignment between thinking about biophilic design for new projects and how do you support guests with the attitude and happiness of your team members who are going to be working, who are the single most important part of delivering great service to customers. Right. And so I think that's an area that we sometimes oversee.
Yeah. I think this is great. And I love that we're bringing a new wrinkle to the conversation, because every conversation I've had for wellness up till now has all been guest-centric, guest-focused. What is the customer going to feel? But in order to create a better, happier, healthier staff, this is a great way to do it. And let me underscore by saying, now that unemployment is so low in the United States that people are more willing to more easily jump around from job to job, and they may go, if you don't have the right environment within your hospitality, within your hotel, that they'll just go down the road because they'll get 50 cents more an hour or something like that. But if you create the right framework for them to feel happy, healthy, vital as a human being, as a service giver, then I think they're more likely to stay as well.
Yeah, totally agree. It's all about kind of the what we're doing as a hoteliers to support our team members, because our team members are who are supporting our guests. And I think beyond the Hilton partnership, you're seeing different companies kind of take approaches, and what does that mean for the independent hotel operator and the boutiques? It means just very simply, like, how do they create their own version of employee culture programs that really factor in wellness? One great, really simple idea, and this kind of goes back to balancing guests and customers, is we're seeing more and more hotels think about group classes. That's an evolving trend, and it's not really hit hotels yet. How do hotels not just have a good gym, but say, how do we bring people together? So it's this idea of alone together, right? Think of your bar or a hotel bar. Yeah. Sometimes customers sit at the bar when they're traveling alone because they don't really know the guy or the woman sitting down the bar, but they don't want to be completely on their own. Yep. That idea then comes to life through group classes. So where does that then match back up to team members? Does each hotel, as a developer, an independent or boutique, do you have like a well-being champion? And is that maybe a person that's a front desk associate or a front desk or a food and beverage supervisor that has a personal passion for, doing yoga as an example, or is on the side a trainer? give that person responsibility, not just to think about, do their everyday job, but think about well-being for your team at the hotel, or your team at your retreat or wherever it is, but as well as what kinds of programs and unique offers can you come up with that you can either package out and supplement with some other cool local stuff in your marketplace that really can make your hotel stand out. So the analogy I like to give is, especially around kind of group activity and engaging your teams with guests, or, how does well-being programming, whether that's a group class or even something as simple as like a cool, in the kitchen cooking class,
right.
How does that equate to kind of the coolest rooftop bar in town, the thing that people are talking about, want to check out? And so it could be from both getting customers from outside of your market in, but also from thinking about how do you get locals in and how do you get locals talking about your hotel or your property.
So you think you could actually convince locals to come in for a Pilates class, a yoga class, whatever it might be?
Yeah, I kind of, in my mind, I see the future of where group programming related to wellness in hotels going is that's going to become, hotels are a physical footprint or a platform. And how does an owner or a manager optimize the use of that platform to bring in the right stakeholders and introduce their property to more people? So how different is that than the evolution of where kind of co-working spaces have gone, and how kind of different people are coming together to use kind of co-working spaces in different ways? How are they using hotels in different ways? So it's not really as much just about the lobby is there or the restaurant or bar are there. How can hotels become the epicenter of really cool activity in a marketplace?
Okay, now all of a sudden things are coming into focus for me here, Adam, because we have spent so much time for the last 5 years or so talking about activating the lobby. The whole idea behind that is to find new ways to generate more income through that existing space or space that you're planning to create. And if you're building a new build hotel, building something that can handle these things is a great idea, because we all talk about, hey, we want to get the local community in to have that cocktail. Heck, why shouldn't you be wanting to have the local community in to come have a yoga class or whatever, and then maybe sell them a smoothie before they leave the door?
You got it. And it's kind of, and the thing about doing that is not necessarily having to put the onus on the hotel to say we have to organize all this programming. There's amazing local programmers and coaches and facilitators that could use the hotel as a footprint or use the hotel as a platform to deliver what they've developed. And then let them go out and communicate that to their audience. Let them go out and push that through their social channels, supplement it with all the work that the hotel is doing, and then say, how do you add on top of that? So it's not just the class or the activity. It's, to your point, I'm selling you a smoothie. Maybe it's I came up with a really awesome, revitalizing mocktail that after every class we're going to supplement it in. And that's going to make the individual, the hot yoga class that would have otherwise be held somewhere else really cool to host kind of in my meeting room, during off-peak times.
Right.
So those are the kinds of things that, that I think in my mind, we've got to start to say, how do we look at hotels a little bit differently? How do we look at the platform that a hotel can provide in a way that can bring in different aspects of wellness that can support both the well-being of our guests, but build stronger relationships in the local market? And I think the big branded hotels are thinking about that quite a bit. I think the smaller independents have a really unique place to activate their local market in a way that no one else can, because they should own their local market.
So how are the big brands then actually thinking about this, other than creating brands that are theoretically designed specifically for this? Because I see wellness as not, it's a niche category, but it's also not a niche category. It's something that some elements, maybe not as detailed elements, should be included in every single property going forward, because I think human beings are recognizing that the way we did things in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s maybe wasn't really the best and most efficient way to live our lives.
Yeah, no, I think each of the hotel companies are addressing it in one way or another. Obviously plug for my friends at IHG. I think they're continuing to focus on how do they grow even hotels and do great things with that brand. Mm-hmm. I think all the brand companies, though, are addressing wellness. You've seen, Hilton had rolled out a neat program called 5 Feet to Fitness, where they incorporated wellness aspects through a lot of technology and equipment in guest rooms. Right. And that's now expanded to more than just kind of the core Hilton brand. And that's a program that they're offering up to owners in different locations. You're seeing partnerships with brands like Peloton from a fitness perspective. Accor has really been a leader in this space, thinking about platforms that cut across all of their brands. So the Pullman brand is an example, and Sofitel each have well-being programming that have been incorporated into their brands. And they have, actually know a really neat guy that runs well-being for the Accor portfolio. Hyatt obviously purchased Miraval, purchased Exhale, and is pushing the aspects of what those brands stand for into their hotel brands and finding synergies to say, how can Exhale programming live in a Hyatt place is a great example. And on that front, a great friend of mine just announced this week that she's now the head of well-being programs for Hyatt for their teams, as well as how well-being gets brought to life through their brands. So if you know Mia Carrios, she's now kind of in the Hyatt world. So the different bigger brand companies are saying, how does well-being come to life across the estate? It's not necessarily just a tactical thing in an individual brand. And we're seeing some of the companies address that. The thing that to me is really cool is we're seeing that come to life, not just in luxury, but we're beginning to see it come to life kind of across the spectrum of prices. So we don't want well-being and we don't want the idea of wellness to be so exclusive that it's only for kind of the top 5%. We want to make sure that wellness attributes become approachable and can come to life for customers and frankly guests that don't make $300,000 a year. Right. And so that's where I'm seeing a lot of growth in kind of the independent boutique retreat space, retreats that don't cost, $500, $700, $800 a night, but retreats that cost, $100 or $200 a night for a guest that can have, access to that from a vacation perspective. And then at the, everyday hotel perspective, what are some of the smaller things that we're seeing hotels do, whether that is food related or better gyms and better fitness centers, better spaces to sit in kind of a mid-tier hotel. Those are the kinds of smaller scale things that I'm seeing come to life in kind of newer developments.
Yeah, I think that's interesting that you're looking to democratize wellness. I think we have a little bit of a problem with that in our society. I look outside the hospitality industry and I look at poorer communities, ones that don't have as many financial resources. A lot of times they're food deserts. They're stuck buying stuff from bodegas or crappy shopping centers, and they don't have access to great fruits and vegetables, and that stuff could be more expensive. So there has been a schism between the upper echelon of society and all other rungs of our society from a financial perspective to bring these things to the everyday person. I love that you feel that that's something that could be achievable by hotels within the mid-scale segment, maybe even the economy segment, in order to get people to be healthier, happier, more well-adjusted in their beings.
Yeah, I think I look at it as, I've heard the term about 50 times over the last year, wellness is the new luxury. Mm-hmm. I don't want to just look at it that way. Right. You could say wellness is the new luxury, but wellness shouldn't be a luxury. Wellness is part of everyday life for people kind of across price spectrums. And right. What are the things that we can incorporate in? Really simply put, there's a great, if you're in the US, there's a great brand called Planet Fitness. And their goal is to kind of, in a way, democratize the ability to give people access to a low cost monthly subscription to a great gym. And how do platforms like that, Walmart or Kroger selling organic, lower priced foods kind of through their brands, how do things like that come to life for more customers as I think about hospitality? And I see that's where wellness is going. So one thing I'm hoping your listeners kind of take away from our discussion is, don't just assume wellness is appropriate for 4-star hotels and above. Wellness should be appropriate across the spectrum for hotels, whether you're a luxury hotel or you're a small bed and breakfast that's kind of accommodating customers in your market.
Yeah. I like that you're putting it in that particular context. I think that's really the way we need to think about all of this going forward. You know what? I'll tell you, I think hoteliers out there, if you're listening, do me a favor. For wellness, build more lap pools. I want to swim in your hotels, and I can't stand the little itty-bitty tiny pools that are the size of a hot tub, essentially. That's not helping me feel better about myself. All right, shameless plug aside, I want one more thing I want to talk to you about. I find that most hotels that I go into, particularly in the guest room space, because they don't seem to have adequate lighting, or I have to walk around and turn on 800 lamps. And I feel like light is an important part of that wellness element. Having that right balance is important. So am I right? Is light important at all, or am I just unusually depressed when I'm in hotel rooms that are dark?
You are not unusually depressed. Dark hotel rooms do make us depressed, but you're spot on. Light is a critical aspect of delivering on kind of and supporting the well-being of guests, and something that I'm really passionate about, and saying, how do you address light in a way that makes sense for whatever the project is? If it's a new build, you start from scratch and you think really holistically of how do we address light to support needs of guests at different times. And it kind of touches a couple things. Obviously, natural light is key. And where we can, how do we bring natural light in? And that lines right back up to our earlier conversation about biophilic design. Where does natural light, along with the right kinds of plants and water and things like rocks and natural elements, how do those fit in? But then as I get into programmed light, and I think of, you can't always have natural light everywhere. So how do we think about the idea of color and light supporting our well-being? And I kind of go back thousands of years to kind of the ancient civilizations that thought of thought of color as a way to really support us and support our different moods and support healing. So thinking of the idea of like the violet color being very soothing and calming, or the green color supporting the idea of tranquility, or red and orange trying to energize us. Those same alignments of where color lives can apply as we think about light in hotel rooms. So at a really basic level, the idea of putting light on dimmers so a bright giant light doesn't wake you up right before you're trying to go to bed, that's critical. So as hoteliers, can we put lights on dimmers? Or if you can't put a light on a dimmer, you have kind of different temperature bulbs in your hotel room. So not every bulb is exactly the same. So you might have some really bright lights in the bathroom, but then you have kind of much dimmer lights that could be in the guest room. So if I'm trying to go to sleep, I have kind of a warmer, dimmer light that's on versus kind of a really bright, cool light that might energize me. And then I think the last thing to really drill into, and I'm sure, again, everybody in the US, you see prices of LED lights have dropped so much. If you go in home,
it's insane how much lower they've gotten. I remember it was like, 5, 6, 7 years ago, everyone's like, well, we can't wait because it's just so prohibitively expensive. Now you can't afford not to use those lights. Yeah,
and it's like those LED lights, those same kind of ideas apply in hospitality settings. So getting a multicolor changing LED strip where you might be able to, put in, say, your bathroom, a really energizing light color like a red hue that's going to help people get going in the morning, or a cool color, bright light that's going to help improve circadian rhythm if someone's got jet lag. Doing something like that isn't thousands and thousands of dollars anymore. And there are options that can kind of come to life through a kind of a small scale renovation. But if you're building a new project, definitely think about light from the beginning. Even as small as kind of a branded prototype hotel, who's your lighting designer that's thinking about different touch points of light in the guest room as well as the common space? And I'll kind of leave it at this last thing about light. Think about the coolest bar you've ever been in, or the coolest restaurant space you've ever been in. Was it like super bright, and did you walk in and feel like you were being blown away? Hell no. You walked in and you felt like you were in a really cozy, warm spot.
Right.
And how does that same application apply to your lobby in a hotel, to the bar, to the restaurant, to the relaxing areas? It's not all one and the same. So the feel that you have at 9:30 in the morning during breakfast, based on what the light's doing, should be very different than what it is at night, and it might need to be different in different spaces. So what are the options to think about how light comes to life to support guests feeling great in different spaces in the hotel or in their guest room? So I'll kind of leave it at that, but simple answer, light is very often overlooked, and it's one of those things that if you don't really nail it, you're missing this huge opportunity to deliver an amazing experience for guests and support their well-being.
Excellent. So bringing it all home, I guess, how do you see us today on this journey of wellness, and where do you think we're going to be in, I don't know, a year from now, 5 years from now? How long is this going to take? Because I see, just generally speaking from life in existence, it takes a couple of decades for cultural shifts to really happen. So I'm curious as to what you feel, how far into this we are, and how much longer we have to go before it's just a de facto way of doing hotel business.
Yeah, I think kind of overall, above just the industry, I see we are kind of still towards the beginning of understanding the breadth of where well-being and wellness is and how much it can come to life across price points, across regions of the globe. I think particularly in the US, we're a bit behind our counterparts in Asia and in Europe that have made lots of lifestyle changes and have kind of applied practices from ancient cultures that are kind of more commonplace in their everyday life. As I think about the industry specifically, we're also kind of towards the beginning. I don't see a change that we're no longer going to be focusing on well-being and focusing on supporting the well-being of guests. And I see that there'll be more and more programs and services and tools. What I expect to happen is that customers will continue to become more self-sufficient. They'll use their platforms and their apps, their tools. They'll look to us as hoteliers to say, how can we learn from you for things that we don't already know in your market because I'm in a different place, someplace I'm not as familiar with. And they'll kind of look to us to be the authorities around well-being. They'll look to us to be the authorities around what's in Chicago or downtown LA or in this cool destination retreat spot in the middle of nowhere in Utah. What are the things here that are local, that are distinctive, that can be an experience that I'll have that I wouldn't have otherwise had at home? And that's where I think we'll see a lot of change. But what's going to happen in 5 years? I think there's going to be a lot more related to group activity. I think well-being support will continue to evolve to be more around the idea of how others are helping us achieve our well-being versus everybody out there on their own. So we'll definitely see more group activity. I think there's a big opportunity to think about partnerships as non-traditional hotel brands or non-traditional brands enter the hotel space. Where's the opportunity for partnerships to connect hospitality brands or individual hotel projects with other brands that might better align to the lifestyle of guests? So I definitely see much more of that. And then the last one, which we talked a little bit about, I think there's a huge opportunity, and we'll see huge growth within the space of how team members overlap to the well-being of guests. So it'll no longer be the world where kind of team members are doing their own thing and guests are doing their own thing. We'll see much more opportunities where team members are facilitating wellness programming, where team members are engaging with guests to support their well-being. And that'll both help employers find team members that want to align to customers and find team members that want to stay and actually work at said organization. But it'll also help guests feel like they've now had a personal connection to staff, which will help them feel like they were someplace really unique and make that more memorable. So those are a couple, but the short answer is I don't see wellness going anywhere. I see it continuing to grow in the way that, kind of some examples in our industry. You remember those old school signs of, we have HBO on the motels and on the roadside drive-bys, or we have a swimming pool, and, that evolved to we have a TV and we have internet. Well-being support for customers and supporting the wellness of guests is going to become that as we continue to evolve in the industry.
Excellent. I love it. Well, I got to tell you, I am absolutely vibrating with love and light, pulsating with love and light after this conversation. And Adam, I want you to have the opportunity to tell everybody how to find you. Tell us a little more about Parallax Hospitality.
Oh, sure, Glenn. I appreciate it. You can find me online at parallaxhospitality.com, Parallax hospitality.com, or email me at adam@parallaxhospitality.com. And I'd love to chat with you if you're ever looking for help thinking about where does wellness live within your brand or within your hotel.
Excellent. Well, that was really terrific. I hope you all out there listen and really are understanding how important this trend is for the future health of your business and, of course, the health of your staff and the health of your customers. It's really coming into focus right now. I want you guys to stay ahead of all the trends. So speaking of staying ahead of the trends, stick with us. We've got a great interview coming up you're not going to want to miss. Thanks for listening, and we'll be right back after this.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. Now listen, for me, one of the highlights of this past year's AHOA conference was learning all about the exciting stuff going on with Red Roof. For example, after comprehensive research into what travelers truly desire, Red Roof has created the Red Collection, a new group of mid-scale, unique hotels that are hyper-local and inspired by that city's vibe and culture. They all offer modern, accessible, and affordable accommodations, all within the proximity to the activities and sites travelers want to visit most. Like the St. Clair in Chicago, which is within walking distance of stores, restaurants, and museums all along the incredible, magnificent mile. Each property offers modern, accessible, affordable accommodations and the amenities guests asked for in their consumer research. Also included a loyalty program that just happens to be the richest in class and least expensive for franchisees, just 4%. And every property in the Red Collection has its own distinctive name, customized property enhancement plan, and brand standards based on consumers' wants rather than design mandates. And to top it off, the Red Collection gives franchisees opportunity to affordably invest in a sound brand with a solid track record. That's Red Roof's stellar management team. Finally, you'll be working with a company with franchise satisfaction rate of 94%. Wow! All those franchisees are going to tell you this, right? It's about genuine relationships, real results. That's just not some slogan. It's just how Red Roof operates. Learn more about the Red Collection. Just contact Phil Hugh. He's Red Roof's Chief Development Officer. Mail him at philhugh@redroof.com. That's Phil, P-H-I-L, Hugh, H-U-G-H. Phil Hugh at redroof.com, or just give him a call at 713-576-7417. Thanks for listening, and now back to the show.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast. I appreciate you sitting through that commercial break. Man, am I excited this morning. I'm recording in my home studio today, and I was thinking about driving all the way up to Parsippany, New Jersey, but the whole idea of the Long Island Expressway, Manhattan, and Route 80 was just too much, so I got Mr. Tom Barber, Chief Strategy and Development Officer for Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, on the phone instead of going all the way to Parsippany. Tom, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Glenn. Thanks for asking. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you too. So this is a big, exciting time for you folks over there right now. But before we get into that, I want to ask you a little bit about, part of your title is Chief Strategy and Development Officer. I understand what the Development Officer part is, but what do you do when you're Chief of Strategy in a role such as you have at Wyndham Hotels and Resorts?
Well, I'm still trying to figure that out, Glenn. But no, to be honest with you,
maybe we can figure it out together, Tom, on this
exactly.
call right now.
So we've never had a strategy department in the past, and with the spinoff, we think it's really important to crystallize our path forward and our vision for the new hotel company. So it's really defining the path forward and aligning the organization to that vision. So it's a really exciting role for me, and it's a really exciting time for the organization.
Yeah, it sure is. And I think for my listeners, I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of career-minded folks that are coming up through the ranks in hospitality listening to the show, as well as that great group of executives. Maybe you could explain a little bit on the strategy here, this comes into your role, of why this was spun off and what the company hopes to gain through its new positioning.
Yeah, I think when you look at a spinoff, I think we consider it a spinoff for many of the reasons that most companies do. And I think when you're a public company and you're looking to create value for shareholders, the first thing is there incremental value created through a spinoff? And it's really hard to say, but when we looked at our valuation as a consolidated hospitality company, we were trading at a level that was substantially below hotel companies and substantially below even timeshare companies. So we were pretty confident when we pursued the spinoff that we were going to add value for our shareholders. So I think that's number one. In terms of from a management perspective, it allows us to allocate capital more directly to areas of that we know will grow for our organization. And it also, if you think about the decision-making process, it sharpens the decision-making process. So we had a corporate function, and if we had a strategic initiative, we typically would know as a business unit that it's the right thing to do, but we'd have to go to the corporate function to align on getting capital to support that particular initiative. So it just really streamlines the management process. And then from an acquisition perspective, we've done one or two, as you probably know. We have 20 brands in our portfolio. All of them have been acquired with the exception of two, and so this positions us better to be acquisitive moving forward. So it really checks all the boxes that relates to a spinoff.
Interesting. First of all, love the word acquisitive. I think that's a great move to throw that into conversation. And secondly, I think it's interesting to me how companies, over the natural progression of their existence, kind of consolidate, acquire, and then sometimes they decide to spin off and break up like you're doing. It's an interesting ebb and flow that I've noticed in my 20 plus years watching this business, especially with how your company's kind of developed over the last couple of decades. going way, 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 way back to my first days in the business when it was still HFS. All those
long time. And I'm not sure if we're ebbing or flowing. We're probably doing a little bit of both, but we're really excited about the path forward, and we think it's the right path for us.
Yeah. So let's talk about speaking of being acquisitive in nature. Now I'm just going to have to use that word all the time, Tom. Is I think you pretty much the company stunned the world earlier this year by making a deal to pick up the La Quinta brand, which until then was a standalone company. Now it's part of the Wyndham family. Love to know, now that you've completed the spin-off, what was the notion of acquiring that brand going into it, and what do you hope to achieve now that it's wholly owned by Wyndham Hotels and Resorts?
Yeah, so we've been looking at. It's probably no surprise that we've been looking at La Quinta for quite some time, and it's a tremendous fit for our portfolio. If you think it fits solidly in the upper mid scale of our brand portfolio, and it adds tremendous scale to our company. With La Quinta, we have over 9,000 hotels around the world. 9,000 hotels. Wow. And that's 40% more than our largest competitor. And in the attractive mid-scale segment, 29% of our hotels are now in the mid-scale segment. So we've traditionally been an economy player, but we're growing rapidly in the mid-scale space. And then from a capability standpoint, if you look at what La Quinta does, they're really, really good at new construction. We want to grow new construction. And if you look at from franchise sales and development all the way to franchise support, they do a really good job. And we're going to leverage that and continue to grow that for the La Quinta brand, but also for our other new construction brands. And if you look at growth overall, La Quinta is pretty decently penetrated in the United States. I think there's additional opportunity to grow in the United States, but internationally is a significant opportunity. They have 11 hotels in Mexico, 1 hotel in Central America, and 1 in South America, with 1 salesperson in Latin America. They have no salespeople outside of Latin America. We have 30 salespeople across our international region. So we think it's a huge opportunity to grow both domestically and internationally.
Okay, so that gets me thinking. Then you already have this amazing franchise team that's in place. So now all of a sudden they just have another arrow to put in their quiver. So when they're having conversations with developers or existing property owners that might be interested in building something new, now all of a sudden you can extend the dialogue because you have another brand within the family. So is that the right way that I should be looking at it?
Absolutely, and it's so consistent and clean that it's a very easy value proposition to sell for our potential franchisees. And if you look at the dialogue, we talk about La Quinta, but look at Microtel and Hawthorne, our other new construction brands, and you start the dialogue with La Quinta, and it can evolve to a dialogue about Microtel and Hawthorne if you're talking about economy or extended stay. So it's if you look at our new construction developers and our La Quinta salespeople, it really extends the dialogue and it provides more options for franchisees.
Yeah, and I think you're making a compelling argument as well overall, because when the company acquired the brands, the Microtel and the Hawthorne brand, I think it really was able to blossom under Wyndham stewardship, for example. So obviously you expect the same thing to happen with the La Quinta brand, which, as you pointed out, has made really great inroads within the development community, and also I think one that people, customers really enjoy going to as well.
Absolutely. And again, it's the consistency of the experience, and that's why customers come back again and again.
So, now that you guys are moving more and more up the chain ladder, is it fair to say that at some point you're going to want to continue to have brands that are within all segments of the hospitality business in order to create a well-rounded customer-facing opportunity?
Well, we have brands for every owner, and but we know our core. Yep. Our bread is buttered in the economy and mid-scale space.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to continue to focus on economy mid-scale, but we have already tremendous upper upscale properties within the Wyndham Grand brand, and I think when you say all chain scales, I think that's a difficult word, right? Because I find it difficult to believe that we're going to be in luxury, for example. But our objective,
I could see why you would find that difficult because it's so far away from what you described as the bread and butter part of it. I don't see the average Days Inn or Ramada type of a person necessarily jumping up to that level unless it's to cash in points only. And strategically, that doesn't seem to me to be the right way to go.
Absolutely.
So, okay, cool. Excellent. I'm curious as to what the philosophy was behind, departing, having the Knights Inn brand depart the organization, which was sold to the Red Lion Hotels Corporation.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So on the Knights Inn side, we recently launched the By Wyndham tagline for all of our hotels. Right. And when we thought about it, if you think back, 2 to 3 years ago, we attached By Wyndham to some of our major, consistent, high quality brands, and we extended. In April, we extended By Wyndham throughout all the brands, and we thought that the one brand that didn't 100% fit the By Wyndham approach was Knights Inn, and it's a good brand. It's grown for us, and I think it will do very well under Red Lion Hotels. Yep. But it just didn't fit us moving forward when we're focused on consistency, quality, and tying all the brands together under one high-quality umbrella.
I think that's fair enough, and I'm going to say something that I don't expect you to respond to, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you look at like NGM Resorts International, for example, it's like they own Circus Circus, but it's kind of like the stepchild for them, right? They don't really want to acknowledge it's there. It's not really part of the rewards program, so it's kind of this weird, odd fit that they have for the company, and I suspect that was kind of the feeling that you were having, which made sense for this particular strategic move. Go ahead, talk. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
No. That's fine. I would say stepchild, but it just didn't fit the long-term strategy for our organization.
Right. And to be fair, I didn't say that for the Knights Inn brand. I was referring specifically to Circus Circus. I just want to be clear.
Got it.
Good. So anyway, I want to know how all of these things now, as you're becoming like this, pure play hotel company that's been spun off, how does this really affect your overall growth strategy? We talked about internationally, but I'm curious a little bit to how it's going to affect things here.
Yeah, I think that the spin-off doesn't really affect our strategy, but it affects our ability to execute on our strategy. So we're gonna continue to focus on our economy, our bread and butter economy and mid-scale, adding value and providing efficiencies for our franchisees. But I think when you think about the spin-off, I'll talk about the things that I talked about before, which is streamlined decision-making and the ability to pursue M&A transactions more effectively. And I think you'll see more of the same from us. And I think you'll see stronger growth organically and potentially more M&A activity into the future.
Yeah, that's my hunch too. Now, obviously, I can't ask you who you're going to acquire now because you just simply can't say that sort of thing. But it's interesting to know that you're still in acquisition mode, and I'm still seeing more consolidation in the industry. And I guess me wondering, how many standalone brands are left that you guys could acquire as opposed to maybe swapping brands, which I recall seeing something like 15, 20 years ago when people started to do this, and kind of what you've done with Knights Inn. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that develops over time. And also, I'm curious as to what are you all learning from bringing the La Quinta brand into the family? What are some of the integration opportunities and challenges that you have going forward? Because I know from my experience in talking to a lot of folks that whenever there's change, people are uncomfortable with the notion of change, even if that change might benefit them in the future. I think I said that politically correct enough.
Well done. Very well done, Glenn.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you're spot on that the biggest risk to an acquisition is really it's not the numbers It's really the integration, and it's really when you think about all the stakeholders involved, it is about the shareholders, but you gotta figure out the owners and the customers, the guests and the employees first. Right. And we were focused on those stakeholders from the very beginning. We were out in front of the day after we announced the deal. We were, Jeff and the team were down in Dallas talking to employees and also talking to the owners. I think we had conversations with probably 100 owners. I'm sure. In the first month, and it's a change for everyone. Well, yeah. And if you talk to the La Quinta owners, they are so proud of the brand, and they really feel like they helped to build the brand along with the employees. Right. And so they're really important in terms of getting them on board, making sure that they understand that we're going to we paid $2 billion for this brand. Yep. We're not going to break the brand. We're going to retain all the things that they do really, really well and provide the scale that a leading large-scale hotel company brings to the table.
Right, yeah, because, a lot of people called me during this process, and it was interesting to hear what some of their points of view are, but I really think fundamentally it comes down to...
What'd you say, Glenn? What'd you say?
Yeah, so, people like talking to me. I don't know why. They think I'm a friendly face. I just wish... I wish when it comes to sticky issues, they would stay away from me. But I think that at the root of problems that we see, not just when it comes to integrating a specific brand into a larger company, but, going back to my point about change can be difficult on people, especially if you consider it your livelihood. The whole idea of something different now all of a sudden is going to happen makes you feel less control over the situation. So I'm sure when you spoke to those 100 owners over that first month, it was all about empowering the current owners to make sure that they felt comfortable and understood that they're going to be heard and well taken care of.
Absolutely. We actually just wrapped up our La Quinta Brand Council meeting last week, and it was the first one post-close, which was highly successful. Wonderful. Highly successful. But the process continues every day. Of
course. So what are some of the the benefits that La Quinta owners are going to be able to see? Because to me, I automatically see, now all of a sudden you're in a much, much larger pool when it comes to rewards members, and you're probably going to be able to pretty quickly up the percentage of folks that are coming through Wyndham branded websites and marketing efforts and deliver those guests a lot easier.
Yeah, it's so the benefits are immense, as you rightly pointed out. One is clearly loyalty, both in terms of driving guests to hotels and also that can happen. We've already successfully implemented status matching for the two programs, right? And that's an example of quick wins over a little bit of a longer-term integration. Yep. But we expect to fully integrate into 2019. But the benefits, you think about OTA savings, you think about supply chain savings, you think about loyalty. All those things are going to accrue to the benefit of the owners.
Great. What do you think consumers think of this overall thing? Because to me, as a customer of La Quinta or any of the brands that have been part of the Wyndham family for a long time, I don't see any drawbacks. I'm just like, I get more.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the La Quinta loyal customers are going to continue to be loyal La Quinta customers. And they're going to get the benefit of our loyalty program moving forward, which is as you know, it's the simplest and most rewarding loyalty program in the world. So I think it's good for owners and it's good for guests.
Yeah. So overall, in terms of all of Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, as you put on your chief strategy hat, we were talking about new construction, and you've got a lot of conversion brands as well. What do you think about the overall market conditions out there in the next year or so that's going to help you guys continue to make those shareholders happy?
We're really focused on. I'm really excited, as selfishly as the chief development officer. Yeah. As to what La Quinta will do for us, and we need to continue to push new construction. Right now, I would say that 8 to 10% of our openings in a given year are new construction. That's definitely going to change with La Quinta, both with the brand and rolling our other new construction brands under that development team. And so we're really excited about that moving forward. And we expect, Chip Olson, I know you know Chip Olson,
Yep.
who reports to me. Our objective is to get from 7-8% of openings in new construction to 20-25%, and so that's going to help us both in new construction, consistent quality, and we can take a more thoughtful approach to conversion as well. So it all kind of fits together. In terms of the economy, I think, interest rates have been a little volatile. They're a little high. I don't expect them to be, to go through the roof, but they are normalizing. And so it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to get financing, and the cost of capital is going to be a little higher. But we still see opportunity to grow from, again, the 7, 8, 9% new construction to the 20-25%.
Woo, that's a huge jump to more than double it.
It's probably a 2, 3, 4 year plan, but I have high objectives for Chip Olson. So.
Yeah, Chip's a great guy, and for the listeners who aren't familiar with Chip, I'll put in the show notes. I did a great podcast with him in spring of 2017 where
that was a great show.
Yeah, thank you. We really got to learn about him and his personality and all about the strategy for the company, so I'll make sure that's in the show notes so you guys can have that as well. All right, so is there anything else that you want to talk about specifically with some of your goals for Wyndham Hotels and Resorts before I go on to a couple more questions I have for you?
No, we're just super excited about the spinoff. We're really excited about the acquisition of La Quinta. We closed on La Quinta one day before we spun, so everything just kind of lined up, and we're looking forward to the next chapter. We're really excited about it.
Yeah, it should be really terrific. Now, Tom, I want to ask you a couple of questions about where you came from. I know that you live in New York City right now. You were saying that before we got on the microphone, but I haven't come into contact with you. How did you come up in the hospitality industry ranks? And I'm curious as to did you ever think you were going to wind up in a position like this early on in your career?
Yeah, so no one really wants to talk to the M&A guy, but people want to talk to the development guy. So,
right.
I was in mergers and acquisitions at an investment bank called Credit Suisse before I joined Wyndham. Mm-hmm. And when I joined Wyndham in 2012, I was the head of merger and acquisition for the entire company. So we originated and executed deals across all of our business segments. And then I led the spin in we announced in August 2nd of 2017, and as a result of the spin, I became the chief strategy and development officer.
Right.
Sales is not my background, but sales is really in everyone's background at the same time. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I've learned that as a small business operator that sales is in everyone's background. I've had to learn real quick on how to do that
exactly.
sort of thing.
Exactly. You're always selling yourself.
So then, Tom, why don't you tell me a little bit about what it actually takes to spin off a company from another company to create a wholly different operated company? Because we talk a lot about that in the news. And, I know you guys spun off and you're now Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, but what is that process like from, is it just a bunch of paperwork? How does that all work?
So not having done it before, I grossly underestimated all the things that need to take place in order to do it. So if you would have asked me, early last year, I would say I have no idea, but now I know. So
right.
No, but it is a lot of work. It's a lot of you have to separate entities, so it's a lot of legal work. Mm-hmm. We still have a really close relationship with our sister company, Wyndham Destinations,
right? And
so you have to craft intercompany agreements between the two companies around loyalty, around distribution, around a whole host of things. We have a royalty agreement with them, and they're an important partner for us. So it's a ton of work. I underestimated it, but if you think about it, Sendit went through the same thing in 2006, mm-hmm. and a lot of people that went through that process also are still here and went through this process. So we have a lot of residual knowledge, and that really helped.
How long does something like this take?
So it takes the analysis. So I break it into the analysis and then the execution. So the analysis probably started at the end of 2016, early 2017.
So before you go on, so what happens is somebody says, "Hey, wouldn't it be great if perhaps we spun the hotel division off from the rest of the company because I think blah blah blah." Then you need to research it and see if it's even a smart
exactly. And if you look at the trend, you had Marriott spinning off Marriott Vacations.
Yep.
You had Starwood spinning off and combining with Interval, and you had Hilton as well with Hilton Grand Vacations. So people were wondering when the Wyndham shoe would drop, and so it was less about less about someone asking the question. It was more about when is it right for us. And traditionally, we've always said that scale matters. We can do more and create more value for our shareholders with sheer size of the Wyndham, kind of more diversified hospitality company. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we're always looking for ways to enhance shareholder value, and now was clearly the right time for us.
Interesting. Well, this has been that's been really fascinating. It's interesting to get a little peek behind the curtain to understand how these things really work. Is there anything else that you're dying to get off your chest right now? Maybe share some corporate secrets with me or something.
Well, I have a 8-month-old child.
Awesome.
So I'll tell you that. So I'll give you a little personal. 8-month-old child, and my favorite color is blue. So
I love it. What's the last book that you read? How about this one? What's the last concert? What's the last concert you went to?
Books.
All right. What's the last concert you went to?
I have no time for concerts. I'm pretty boring.
What's the last thing that you did in the car on the drive from New York City to Parsippany?
Podcast. Glenn Hausman.
Thank you. All right.
No vacancy.
All right. Well, I love that, Tom. I really appreciate you giving me the shameless plug. Now, how about you give you guys a shameless plug yourselves? Tell me a little something that we need to know about developing properties through Wyndham Hotels and Resorts and how we could find you all.
Yeah, so again, we're really excited about the path forward, and Chip is doing a great job in development in North America, and has a great team. And David Wilner and Raj Trivedi have great teams, and I encourage you to take a look at Wyndham. We're in the process of major change, and we're improving the quality and consistency of our brands, and so the sky's the limit for us. We have a lot of opportunity, and encourage you to take a look.
All right, great. And just to add a little context, Raj Trivedi has been with La Quinta since before they started franchising, I believe. I think he came on to help when
he started. He started with Zero Hotels.
Right? He started to do that as they went to head on that. So he's been with there forever, and now I believe he's the president of the La Quinta brand. Is that the right title for him?
Indeed.
All right, cool.
Indeed.
So he's been around forever, so he's got a lot of experience, and, Chip's just a great guy. Like I said, listen to that particular podcast. So, Tom, thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Glenn, thank you so much.
Great, thank you, and I want to thank everyone for listening. If you still haven't subscribed to our newsletter, be sure to text the word HOTEL to 66866. That's the word HOTEL, 66866, and that way you'll never miss a show. But, of course, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and wherever your finer podcasts are found. So for me, Glenn Hausman, I'll be back next week. That is, unless I decide to move down to South America and open myself up La Quinta. See you guys next week. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.